episode 195 Above Ground Podcast, Under Your Scars.
Disclaimer. The hosts of this podcast, Will Foley and TPP, are not medical professionals, and this is not medical advice. Both Will and TPP have first-hand experience with mental illness. They have their own perspective and own thoughts on mental health challenges. Above Ground Podcast was birthed to help those who struggle with their mental health through honest dialogue. These conversations aim to break down the walls while building stronger foundations for positive mental health. By speaking openly and sharing tools, they foster connection. By fostering connection, they convey hope. With connection and hope, we can continue to increase awareness. This is Above Ground Podcast.
Coming at you live with real conversations about mental health from the peerspective, it's time for Above Ground Podcast. Now your hosts, TPP and Will Foley.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of
Above Ground Podcast.
Above Ground Podcast, because you cannot serve below.
Oh, that's right. Nippertown's finest mental health podcast from the peerspective. That's right. And you know why we got the peerspective, Timmy? Because we got the scars to prove it, my friend.
That's very true. That's very true, Will. We are wounded healers.
Aren't we all? Don't we all come to something for some reason?
Yeah, I think so. And you know, it's funny you mentioned scars because, you know, scars can do lots of things. I think sometimes they can hold us back. Maybe they can keep us stuck. But they can also be reminders of our strength and what we have overcome.
Wow. I never thought of the scar as another yin-yang tool like the anchor, man. Look at that. Dropping some knowledge over here.
You know, I mean, you know, they can be reminders of what we've endured and maybe, you know, give us the strength and power to, you know, move forward and, you know, keep enduring.
Yeah.
Maybe even show our scars to others, and it would help them.
Yeah.
You know, we could talk about each other's scars.
Yeah. But then you have to move past the scars.
Yes. Yeah, but I think that would...
But I think scars are a really good icebreaker.
Scars can be a good icebreaker. See? That's what I meant.
What scars do you have?
Exactly. See? Could be an icebreaker.
Wow.
Like, hey, sometimes you know your tattoos can be icebreakers.
Well,
you know?
absolutely. I love to use tattoos as icebreakers, man. Love it.
And you know, scars can be, you know, depending on. They can be a good icebreaker.
They can be. People ask me what happened to my neck. I tell them I got stabbed.
Tell them it was Motley Crue, 1987.
Yeah, as if I was old enough for that one.
No, but you know, again, if somebody's willing to talk about, you know, maybe here's the thing: maybe they're not willing to talk about their scars. Maybe they won't admit they have scars, but if they see you talking about yours, it could give them a little inspiration to maybe just go home and kind of look over their scars themselves.
You might plant the mustard seed. And
right.
that is, I think that is essentially what we're doing. You know what
absolutely.
I mean? We're planting the mustard seed.
Is it pumpkin seed? Mustard seed? What is it?
I'm going to say mustard seed because a mustard seed is smaller than a pumpkin seed. So I'm going to say mustard seed is the probably.
Mustard. Come get your mustard seeds here at the Above Ground Podcast.
Yeah, make it yellow. Don't make it spicy. Stuff.
You don't like the spicy brown mustard?
No, I'm not really a spicy brown mustard guy. Man, I love everything spicy, but I'm just.
I was gonna say you do like things spicy too. That's weird that you don't like the.
Yeah, I'm just not a brown mustard guy. I like my mustard like yellow, like so yellow that it looks like to burn your eyes.
Like Walmart, like dollar store yellow.
Yeah, that's what does it for you. Dollar store yellow. What color is that? Oh, it's dollar store yellow.
Yeah.
It's actually $1.25 yellow now, though, because the dollar store has gone up to $1.25.
Inflation.
The $1.25 store.
So how do you feel about, showing your scars or talking about your scars?
I think it pretty much shows how I feel. I wear my scars as a badge of honor, man. But I will say this, you don't have to share everything. You don't have to tell everything. If you've got multiple scars, pick a couple, man. Pick a couple, put some really good stories to them, and use them for good. Use them for good. Because you never know who you're going to benefit. And you know who you benefit if you don't notice that you benefit anybody? You benefit you.
Right. And that's more of like, I guess, kind of where I was going with the conversation.
I had a feeling you were, but
even if you notice, you notice your own, and you may, like you said, you don't have to talk about them. Maybe you want to talk about one or two, but you don't have to be fully open with everybody, But if you're in a place where you're comfortable and you feel like it's safe to talk about your scars because maybe somebody else is talking about theirs, and it could be something relatable where you guys could make a connection.
Yes, absolutely.
And you both could learn something, if you have similar scars,
But I want to caveat with something that Timmy is saying, because it kind of brings me up to a real life thing that's happened recently that I kind of want to acknowledge and put out into the universe. Because the fact is that just because you have scars and you hear somebody talk about them doesn't mean that you need to or feel that you should have to, or in this case, trying to make somebody feel like part of something, you make them feel singled out, which is not ever what we want to do.
Well, yeah, but I don't
but
think that's a lot of people's intention, but I do understand what you're saying.
But you have to realize too that you may not be ready, and you may not get the same feeling of accomplishment by reliving your scar. And until you're in a spot where you can do that, I don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
don't until you're in a safe place.
But I think what I was saying was like I would like to think that would help, like, spark you to look at your own scars.
It certainly can,
and get to know your scars.
It can also be a trigger for somebody depending on where they are in their development.
Right. But hopefully I kind of look at triggers as more of a good thing, because it can trigger you to go, hey, why am I getting upset about this, or why is this bothering me, or why am I having this experience in my body? Why is my jaw locked, and why my fist clench, and that kind of stuff, because it leads you to some answers.
Yeah, if you're mindful enough to take the second to look, because if you're triggered by something, again, depending on where you are,
not necessarily in that moment. I'm just saying,
but
it's just
it is a reason for inquiry.
Yes,
your triggers are a reason for inquiry, and that is a legit thing. Like, if you're triggered by something, you have to ask. And I've asked myself many questions about some of the things that I've been triggered by. Some of them lead back to me. Some of them just lead back to, these things that I thought or something. But they all lead back to me. They all lead back to you. So about how you feel and about what it does. So
right. And it may not be that easy, and it may not be that quick to understand them. So, I guess don't if you're feeling stuck, don't perseverate on it. But get yourself a therapist if you don't have one, and again, jot this stuff down, journal it, and talk with a medical professional, a therapist, and see if you can find some kind of dot to connect to another dot, and eventually you can connect more dots and figure out where that root that you want to pull is hiding.
that root is scary.
Sure
And
it is.
People get scared. They don't know how to start.
But what if you think about it, what's more scary? That root that's there or that root that's going to grow in another 5 to 10 years?
I think it really depends on the person, the situation, and what they're really like needing to work through. Because there's definitely varying degrees of all this stuff, man.
For sure.
So, not everybody's in the same place, and so
Well,
I think it's
nobody's in the same place, but
I think
I'm
it's
just saying,
easier for us to ask questions in general the more comfortable we get doing this. And then obviously having discovered that there is a language for all this and a way to talk about stuff, and there are words that are more than I'm fucking pissed off and I'm sad.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So you're saying ask yourself better questions, or
you'll ask yourself better questions as you develop a better opening to healing up your scars. Now, I was trying to ladder off of what Timmy was saying about hearing somebody talk about it, because I just like some things are very triggering for people, and they have not yet discovered why they're triggered or what the root of that trigger is, or if they have, some people may have a really hard time facing it because they just haven't gotten to that level yet. So people have certain levels of triggers that, you can see somebody for X amount of days and see the same behaviors, but you don't know it necessarily. You're going to know what triggers it necessarily all the time.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. But again, you said it perfectly. It's a reason for inquiry.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
It's a reason
I'm just saying
for inquiry.
To start inquiring. I'm just saying to start that process before, you know what I mean? Don't try not to ignore it, and try not to point the finger at somebody else like you did this to me and you made me feel this way. It's like, okay, something happened that made a feeling inside of you occur, but,
Well, there are things that people do to other people.
Oh, sure there are.
And that create all kinds of other things.
But you have a choice to let it bother you or not.
You do. At some point, you do have a choice to let it bother you or not. But I do think, though, that there is a lot of work that gets to that point for a lot of people. And not everybody gets there. And not everybody can get there. Like, not everybody, we all have ability. We don't all have the same abilities. And we all have different levels where we're okay and where we're not.
Sure, yeah, but I'm saying initially, though.
But not everybody can pull themselves out of X, Y, or Z.
Yeah, it's not necessarily, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I think everybody can notice certain things and have insight,
Oh, absolutely. I think everybody has some level of availability of insight.
I'm not saying and I'm not saying you can do it in any time frame. I'm just saying I think most people have the ability to do it.
I do think most people have the ability to do it. Do they have enough reason, or have they found enough reason yet? Because I think that unfortunately, we know this, man. When you're in the darkness, it's very hard to see anything until something clears it up. But I'll be honest with you. I go back to my time. And yeah, there's a couple of things that I can pinpoint, but I can't tell you exactly what happened or why something clicked in me back then to start this whole process, but something did. And
I think it was multiple things, I don't think it's ever just
No, but what it did was you realize, though, that those scars that you carry, there's deep things that need to get unseated, man. Those roots need to get pulled up, and you need to start cleaning out the garden.
Yeah.
But I was also ready for that. even though I didn't realize I was ready for that at that point. And then once I got on the bandwagon the last couple of years, it's been fucking Fun City ever since.
Right, Fun City. Exactly.
But
yeah, and even if, like, you think you're ready, or whether you think you're ready or not, I think just taking steps towards it is huge.
Oh, absolutely, it's huge. It's absolutely huge, and it should be celebrated, no matter
Right.
how small a step it is. Absolutely, I agree, 110%.
Yeah, I think, it's funny you say that, not to get off track, but I think those things should be celebrated, and you should allow time for those things, just as you allow time for the the unhelpful feelings and emotions and situations that you deal with. Like we allow time for grief. You know what I mean? You allow time to be hurt or upset or maybe even angry.
But do we?
Well,
but do we? I'm just playing devil's advocate, because as soon as you said that, I heard in my head I hear like all these people, you should be over that by now. You should be over this by now. So again, do we?
I think a lot of that is ignorance. I don't know if it's necessarily, I think it's ignorance, and it's hard to put yourself in another person's shoes unless you've been in some kind of ocean that's similar.
It's the human factor, man. That's
exactly.
That's a couple episodes back.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying, though. It's hard for people, but I think that's why if I remember correctly, in that episode, I asked about like information, because some people just don't know any better. You know what I mean? It's like they don't know any better, and if they say that, maybe they're genuinely trying
if
to.
They don't know any better, then
They
that
probably
means they
shouldn't
don't
say
have
anything.
it. Then they don't have any choice in learning what's
Oh, they
better.
do. Yeah, they do.
All right.
But sometimes you don't. In that situation, you may you could make the choice after that event happened, and then research and go, oh, if this happens again, maybe this is something that I could do.
Sure. Yeah.
Just like, again, if let's say that you have a partner and that partner does something and you get triggered, okay? So in a situation like that, if you care enough and you want to spend a little time communicating about it, you say, hey, you know what, the A, B, and C kind of made me feel this way or that way, and maybe next time this occurs, you can try, F or G. So you give, what I mean? You give them some feedback at the same time.
Sure. And then the other person just has to remember to remember.
Well, right. But then that's on them. That's their task. Your task is to, set your boundary, take care of yourself. Their task is to go, if I care enough about Will, like granted, a human factor, I'm going to forget things and, life gets crazy. Okay. But that will come out. You'll see it because they might forget and they'll be like, hey, remember? And be like, oh my gosh, you know what? This has been a crazy week. Work's been terrible. And okay, cool. I just wanted to remind you that, these things kind of bother me. And if you could just go about it a little bit differently, then okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's just a lot of shit. There's a lot of, again, the human factor, again, bring that up. But it's like, that's part of it too, is it's understanding. There has to be like this level of understanding. Again, I may not know what you went through, okay, but I can relate to the point where I can understand to some degree, and just go okay, and then with that understanding, obviously will lead to some compassion for that. Person or situation, thing, whatever.
Yeah, you hope so.
Yeah. But again, if some of these situations don't happen in life, or we shield people from them because we don't want anything bad to happen, then when you get into a situation where it does happen, then you're screwed. Cause
you don't know what to do.
Right, you don't know what to do.
You don't know what to do. You don't know what to do.
And
then that creates a whole other cascade of problems.
Right.
So
I agree, and that's kind of what I was saying before. It's like, you know, you may be scared to open that door, but you know, if you let whatever's in that room grow into something, morph into something bigger and maybe worse, like that, it should be more scary. You know, at least again, take the steps towards that door. You don't have to open it today or next week, but just take the steps and like work towards opening it.
Yeah, and again, I think that does depend on where you're at in a particular process too, because if you're at the beginning of something, again, a lot of us probably are thinking future and, oh my God, I can't wait till I'm out of this, but I don't know how to get out of this. Some people don't even have that forethought yet of whether they're going to be out of something or over something or through something. And we were talking, because you were talking about grief earlier and how we allow time for grief.
Yeah.
But we don't all the time. So,
no.
And of course, if you have the rise and grind attitude, which a lot of people do, then there's no time for anything. You know what I mean?
And that's I mean,
so there's no time for connection.
To me, it's like a trauma response. Is like, I'm just going to be busy and fill my day in my head with something else, so I don't have to think about this thing that I need to grieve over.
Well, you just hit it. That's what we're doing, because that's really what it's allowed us to do. It's allowed us in real time to not look any more different than anybody else. When you think about it, we don't have to deal with anything if we don't want to anymore, because all we got to do is pick this up. And we can stare at this. We can play a game. We can read a book. We can look at a picture.
Sooner or later, that bill's going to come in the mail.
It is, but it is, and I don't, is it stepping off the curb and getting hit by a car? Is it like, but again, but we've normalized that. So now, like, nobody looks abnormal, so to speak, unless you really stick out.
I think it goes back to what I've always said, which is, I think a big part of this is basically what we just talked about. What you're doing is avoiding those hard feelings and emotions.
Well, that's what I meant by that. That's all you're doing.
Right.
And it's not, and see, that's not a distraction anymore. That's an actual avoidance.
I mean, I get it. Maybe like, depending on what happens, I can understand, couple days in, you want to, pick up your phone and like, I get it. Okay. But, because you want to try and like prepare or whatever, you may not be ready to just jump in that water right off the bat. So I can understand, to have a distraction for a little bit, but like you said, maybe that eventually will turn into more avoidant and that's going to blow up. I mean, I think, but what I was trying to say is I honestly think that we should be working towards sitting with our feelings and emotions and learning how to navigate through them, work our way through them so we can, you know what I mean? Because I think that would eliminate a lot of problems.
Oh, I agree. It's getting everyone else to agree to that and getting everyone else to do that. Because again, that takes insight. That takes mindfulness. That takes the time to slow down and say that. Because again, most of us are only inquiring about what we're having for dinner, and where, and we've got so much other stuff, and we do say, oh, I'm so busy. And we keep ourselves busy. And why do we keep ourselves busy? We keep ourselves busy. So many of us keep ourselves busy because at the heart, we, just like Emerson said, man, we lead quiet lives of desperation. Like that's what so many people lead.
Who said that?
Ralph Waldo Emerson.
Oh.
Many men lead quiet lives of quiet desperation.
Yeah,
I probably killed the quote, but
you probably said it right the first time.
But it's true. Right? But it's true, and you realize that, and it takes a certain. It does, man. It takes a certain level of integration of what you've learned, and the ability to step back to say, okay, well, I don't know everything, And a lot of the things that I thought I knew aren't necessarily true. And it takes a little humility to say, wow, I've been wrong, but I've also been right in times. So I do think that isn't this all part of the isn't this like what the path is really?
Sure.
Is for us to get from lily pad to lily pad and hope you cross the pond and you're not carrying a scorpion that's going to ask you for a ride and is going to bite you at the end, because that's what scorpions do.
Well, just like, I remember playing Atari, playing Frogger.
Yeah, Frogger, dude, Frogger.
Trying to get over
there you go.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely what it is. And I think part of that is kind of like what you're saying is like maybe throw in a little self-compassion and say, I don't have to know everything, and number one, I don't have to know everything, and it doesn't take away from who I am as a person, and I don't have to know this. I don't have to give you an answer this second. Like, you can take time. You can pause and go, hey, you know what? Let me think about that. And even if you're not actually conversing with another person, you can say it to yourself. Hey, before I do this, let me think about this. I mean, to me, that is true power. If you can pause before something like that and say, I need a second, I need a minute, I need a timeout before, I drive my car into this other person's car because, but I'm saying, like, for real, like that's true power. If you have that power to make a choice in that millisecond to go, I need time. I need a minute to breathe.
That's strength. That's true strength, dude. And you know what? You may not have that all day. You may only have that one moment at a time. And
but
that's enough. And if you only have that once a day, that might be enough. So again, it's about grace. It's about showing yourself some grace.
Right. And then when the times you don't have it, say, hey, you know what? Don't beat myself up because I did it once before. Why can't I do it now? I do that, but
don't we all? Me too, all the time.
But try to say to yourself,
fucking
like,
curtains. I hate fucking curtains.
Oh God, Will and his curtains.
I hate them.
Don't talk about window treatments in front of Will.
Fucking window treatments.
Yeah, but just say to yourself, like, hey, and then take a break. Today's not the day to hang window treatments.
It's only taken me a week and a half.
I'll take a break, or I'll go take a drive, go get a coffee, and come back and
go record some podcasts.
Yeah, go record some podcasts, and then I'll come back and I'll see what happens, and give yourself some grace. Maybe, hey, it's late, I'm tired, I don't want to be hanging these things right now. Like we say, just don't try not to overthink it or judge yourself, or like, oh, these shouldn't take me that long to hang, because then you're just.
I've done that.
Adding the anchors, multiplying your suffering.
All the time. I've done it. I do it with every household project. I do. I hate them. That's why I don't. That's why yeah.
So now think back and try and maybe even look back on certain situations or even some of the situations now and be like, why do I hate them? Think about it.
Oh, I already know why.
Why?
Because I don't know how to do them. I'm not good at them. Every time I pick up a tool, it's the fucking wrong tool, the wrong size. It's not a world that I operate in, and to be quite honest with you, it's a world I don't want to operate in all the time. Like, I find it easier for me to. It would be easier for me to pick up a guitar right now and strum a couple chords and come up with a melody.
I get that for sure.
But
allowing yourself some grace and saying, you know what, I'm not good at this, but I'm going to try it anyways.
Yeah, and I spend a lot of time trying. Remember, it's do or do not. There is no try.
There's no try.
Unfortunately, I've done not a lot.
I know, but I'm just trying to, from the podcast perspective of this, I'm trying to be helpful and say, allow yourself some grace. And say, hey, I'm not good at this, but I'm gonna make an attempt to try this today.
Yeah, well,
that's all. Hey, tiny baby steps, right?
That's right, tiny baby steps. Timmy's like kind of looking at me. He's like, he's standing up. Why is he standing up? But I'm standing up because I could no longer sit in a chair anymore, and this is more comfortable. And I
That's
figured
all
the
right.
ideas might get from up here to down here and shit. Maybe.
Maybe.
I
thought you were getting ready to like hang window treatments. Every time we say window treatment, Will twitches a little bit.
That's right. It's going to become a drinking game for anybody who's not in recovery out there.
Yeah. There
Will's
you go.
new drinking game.
There you go.
Window treatment.
I mean, well, but for real, like that's a kind of a good idea. Not necessarily drinking game, but make a game out of it. You know,
Make a drinking
like,
game
hey,
out of it too.
you know, I'm gonna work at this for 10 minutes, and after 10 minutes, I get a cookie.
10 minutes, the screw's still not in the wall yet.
That's all right, but you get a cookie, and then you come back. Oh, you know what? I feel a little bit better. I'm gonna try another 10 minutes. You know,
What
it's
do I
all
get
about.
after that? Do I get a peanut?
You might. You set the rules, man. You got you know. You're in charge. You're in the driver's seat. You steer that ship the way you want it. Wherever you want that ship to go, that's where you can go. You wanna not hang window treatments? Don't do it. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe you can hire somebody.
They're laughing at me.
Who, the window
The window
treatment?
treatments are laughing at me. The windows are laughing at me. They're going, you suck. See, that's those negative thought patterns.
It is. But stopping, you know, like I said.
Well, I'm joking.
No, I
it.
know, but I
So
mean,
I'm okay.
if you could make a game out of it, even something along those lines. You know.
I'll be fucking texting Timmy at 11:30 tonight when he's trying to sleep, going, "You motherfucker! You made me do this! You made me!
Made me do it." My phone will be off, so you can text. I just won't answer. I'll be in dreamland.
That's so funny.
La La Land. But yeah, what?
So I wanted to kind of
ahead.
wrap this up a little bit and kind of bring it back because we got off bases a little bit. Although I may have a couple of scars from window treatments, I'm not sure yet. What is something you've learned about yourself by being able to look at these scars, man?
I think, I guess the just the amount of my own self and my own thinking has a role. The way, you know.
Oh, the way you mean the way you think about all the things.
Yeah.
Your
Just
thought
because
patterns
looking back
about
on
'em?
things and like, you know, if things went wrong or I may have reacted in a poor way, it's you know, usually I can trace it back to my thinking. Yeah. You know, kind of like what you were saying, like I hate these window treatments. So again, it sounds corny, but like instead of saying I hate these window treatments, just be like, well, I'm going to try to do this today. You know, because
Yeah, I love window treatments.
you
They
ha-
cover up the sun from coming in my window. I love window treatments. They keep my
See?
room nice and warm.
look in the mirror in the morning, get up every morning, and just go, I love window treatments.
That's right.
Who was that? I can't think of his name from the movie. I can't think of it, but yeah, I think looking back at my scars, I think that's one thing that I remember, like going, yeah, I have more a hand in this than I thought I did.
Well, that's interesting, man. That takes humility. That takes growth. That takes a lot of strength to be able to say that, man, and recognize that.
Thanks. What about you?
I've learned a lot about myself. I've also learned that, as you have, that maybe the way I've looked at things and the way I've approached things has led to a lot of my own problems. And how I've, you know, been able to cope with things at different periods, and how I've just, you know, how certain things have crumbled me like a house of cards, and other stuff just kind of was like, okay, well, whatever. I got to keep rolling. I think it was the inability to keep rolling, because
Yeah.
I think that the rock had gotten so much, like the snowball had become so big, I couldn't push it anymore. And when I couldn't push it anymore,
So it was kind of accepting and letting go. Like
it
that you
was,
can't-
yeah, and maybe, and you know what? You just kind of gave me chills by saying that, because I hadn't really thought of it. And the fact that I've let go of a lot of things in recent weeks and months, and I'm like really starting to feel like I'm letting go. I'm kind of in this pattern right now of resorting back to some old patterns in certain ways.
But recognizing
But
that
I
is huge.
recognize it, and I'm
That's
also
huge.
like, okay, well, I know I can't be stuck in all these patterns all the time.
Right.
So it's bringing myself back, and it's the ability to know that I have that power.
That's pretty cool, right? That's a good nice feeling.
And it is a good feeling, man. I'm getting chills saying that, because it's true, and I hadn't. Something flipped in the last. I don't know. I really don't know, and this is the hard part. Like, I can't pinpoint it. It just, and that's when you know integration. To me, this is when the wisdom has been integrated. This is how you know it's been integrated, is you can't remember when. It just becomes this thing, and it becomes just part of the flow of things. And I realize that a lot of that has integrated, and now I need to get back to knowledge again and studying, because I've realized that I've
So
let
you
my
think that's
studying
kind of a
go
cycle?
little bit.
Is to like,
I do, because I do
study a
think
little
that
bit,
I think you
learn
need
it,
to study and
and then
learn it
integrate.
and then integrate it and not take it. And that's what we talked about before, about too much information.
Yeah.
Information overload. And that's the thing. Like, if you want to, you want to look up something, just go to Dr. Google, man. You can find 15 million things, and you can read research papers. You can read all kinds of stuff and just inundate yourself with constant flow. And that's a form of avoidance. Yes, to some degree it is. It's a distraction, but it's only a distraction at a very low level, and it becomes avoidance very quick.
Yeah,
And I
right. That's a that's a
and I
thin
do,
line.
and I'm really good at avoiding. I really am. I'm
Yeah.
good at avoiding a lot, and yes, and left to my own devices, I'm finding out with the governor completely off. I'm glad it's only been a short amount of time, and it's only taken me a little bit amount of time to realize the governor is off, and that I'm kind of just like, I'm kind of out there with no real rhythm yet. And I know the rhythm is coming, and I know that I won't stay like this forever, but it's difficult in the process. And
I get what you're saying.
And I do, and I have been very overwhelmed the last few months, and especially the last month or so.
Yeah,
I've
sure.
been super overwhelmed, and for lots of reasons. And I'm not making excuses for things I forget or for, miss this.
They're
or
legitimate
forget.
reasons.
I legitimately have some reasons for having just so much shit on my plate right now. So I'm maintaining, and I'm upright. I get up every morning, and I thank Unity for being above ground for another day, man. And I pinched myself yesterday when I was in the car sitting at my day gig, because I'm like sitting there and I'm chilling out waiting for somebody to get in the car, and I pinched myself because they actually just pay me to do this, and they actually kind of pay me to be myself, and I'm free to be myself, and it's kind of nice.
It's kind of freeing.
It is. It's kind of freeing. It is kind of freeing, but it's kind of scary at the same time too.
Yeah. Well,
But-
especially if if someone's not used to being themselves.
Well, and that's tough, because when you're, and I will say this, I've always been myself at my jobs, but my jobs have been like of a certain type of job most of the time.
Yeah, you play a certain role.
I play a certain role, and I was in a lot of the same similar types of roles. And now this is a completely different role where I'm not using any of the stuff that I used to use whatsoever.
Right.
So it's a little bit, and it's still hard to believe that I did all this on my own. Because I legitimately
You set a goal and you did.
I set the goal. Yes, okay, you can say what you want about this or that, but I took all the classes. I did all the work, I did all that, and it's and I legitimately got something because of that work that I put in and the groundwork that I laid and we've laid. And it was mentioned, the podcast had gotten mentioned too, because they knew of everything. So it was so all these things that we've been doing and that we continue to develop and work on. And that's the thing that I love about this. And we're getting dangerously close to 4 years and 200, man. I mean, episode 200 will be way before the 2 year mark or the 4 year mark. I don't know why I'm saying 2 years. Because I got the 2 in my brain. I can't shake it. And we're getting dangerously close to that 4 year mark. And I'm very proud of what we've done. It hasn't all been perfect. It hasn't all been right, but it's been
consistent.
It's been very consistent, and it's been an awesome learning experience.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
And
I think the consistency is key. We just keep at it, man. I mean, again, human factor. We're gonna put out stuff that either we may not, feel is 100%, or someone may not relate to it. But that's how it goes.
I'll tell you the truth. The last few episodes have taken me a lot longer to edit because I've just been so overwhelmed by so much stuff that my brain only operates for so long at certain levels all the time now. And and I've noticed that the last 3 episodes have taken me a while to get through, and it's just I'm okay, I think that's finally starting to chill out a little bit before I get into a little bit of a pattern and a rhythm.
Before I forget, I wanted to give a quick shout out to Crazy Pete, Mr. Buzzy.
Mr. Buzzy.
He's a old friend of ours, and we recently reconnected, and he's been listening to the podcast, so hopefully he listens to this one. Just wanted to say, what's up, Crazy Pete?
Yeah, what's up, Petey boy? I'm so glad you reached out to me, man. So glad. We're going to get together for coffee soon, man. So little history here with Tim and I. Back before the double digits of the 2000s, Tim and I had a little project going on called Splinters of Tomorrow, and we put a demo together
What
and
year
did a
was
few
that?
shows, 2008.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was 2008. And Pete was our guitar player, and we did a few shows. Shout out to Ralph Renner for those, because they were pretty much Ralph shows. I think we did a Mike Valenti show too, because I think we played at Bogies, didn't we?
I don't remember.
I think we did.
I don't know.
I think we did.
We may have. Yeah. We did. We did. You're right. We did.
And so yeah, we did a few shows around the area, but it just didn't. Unfortunately, it just didn't stay together. But we lost touch with Pete, man, and Pete's found us again, and he listens to the show, and we're so glad, man. And Pete does some really good work too, man. He helps vets build bikes, man.
That's right.
So
cool
shout
stuff,
out to
man.
him, man. That's cool shit. Turning wrenches with some vets and helping them build some bikes, man. And keep the rubber side down, Pete, always.
Awesome. So on that note,
yeah, thank you very much for listening. Gosh, Timmy. I mean, in a couple of weeks, man, you got your book signing and your discussion coming up, man.
that was last week,
Oh shit,
wasn't it?
Was it? What?
Or was it? Is it next week?
No, it's next week. Oh no, you're right. Fuck, that's all right. I'll cut that out. I fucked that up.
It was Sunday.
It was Sunday. How was it? How did it turn out?
Here, cut all this out and then go. Ready, go. Sunday was the book event.
Dude, Sunday was your book event, man.
Yes.
And it was fun. It was great. It was well attended. Timmy sold some books. He told some stories. He actually made a couple people laugh. You know, it's all right. It's
That's
all in
all
a
right,
all
man.
in a
That's what
all
it's
in a
about.
weekend, man.
And we'll put the link for the book in the show notes
I
for
always
Amazon.
do. Jesus Christ, we ought to be getting a cut of that from Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I should be getting a cut
Tim should be getting a cut from Amazon.
Jesus. But yeah, you can support us by subscribing to the podcast, sharing the episodes. Yeah, drop it in an email or you can message us on Instagram. Say hi. Give us some show ideas, whatever.
Flip us off. We don't care.
Or flip us off. Yeah,
it doesn't
that's
matter.
fine too.
Whatever you think.
We got scars and we're not scared, so.
Yeah, tough as leather, man.
Tough as leather.
Tough as leather. Tough as leather, heavy as Lemmy. I mean, that's,
There you go.
there ain't none heavier. So
No life till leather.
That's right. No life to leather. Until next week, get well.
Be safe.
Stay
Above. Thank you for giving us a listen. New episodes every Wednesday. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, you can share, rate, review, and even subscribe so you'll never miss an episode. Other ways to support the show: follow us on social media, share the content, share our episodes. You can also buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/abovegroundpod. For further concerns, show ideas, or just to say hi, you can email us at abovegroundpodcast@gmail.com. Once again, thank you for listening and supporting mental health. Keep the conversation going and stay above.